this moment, but I'm just going to concentrate on three main kind of frameworks in this thinking around limits to empathy. Because I want to connect Michael's idea of resilience to this, because limits to empathy is always in the context of adversity. When everything is stable and safe and generous and loving and privileged, there are no limits to empathy. Everybody can be empathic. It is when adverse situations come that we are tested. It is during adversity that limits of empathy comes. So the 3 points I want to make. The first is I am borrowing the literature on cultural humility. And in that framework, there are some very key underpinnings for how we practice, not just as psychologists or healers, but also as people, as peers, and as political activists, and a whole range of things. And the first thing in cultural humility is that to see your life and your experience as a lifelong learning. So you don't reach a point where you think the learning is over, meaning I can manage all situations, versus every single thing is an opportunity for me to expand the learning space. So in the cultural humility, the first is it's a lifelong learning. And the second thing in cultural humility is not so much how are you responsible for things? That's important in cultural humility. But the more important thing is how are institutions around you accountable? So how is a society accountable? How are the political systems accountable? How is the healthcare system accountable? So it's called institutional accountability that you have to start thinking in addition to individual accountability for cultural humility. And the third point in cultural humility is that it's really important to understand how power works. How, as a person, you understand the systems of power around you so you can negotiate power. Just by saying, oh, I don't like power, I don't use power, I am really simple, all of that doesn't work in order to understand how power works in a system, whether it's an encounter with a client, or in a family, or in a political system, or in a school, or in the hospital. To understand how power works is really important in the cultural humility journey.